So Mondesi isn't showing up to Blast Premier, or at least he didn't on the first day because of visa issues, and everyone predicted that G2 was going to get blown out by Spirit because that is what would make the most logical sense. But just like 90s hip-hop, everybody just forgot about Niko. Niko is one of the best players of all time, and by one of, I mean the best rifler of all time, unless you count Simple as a rifler or Zaiwu as a rifler, in which case you've got some mental issues because Niko's the best rifler of all time. I guess you could argue maybe Get Right, but I don't know why I'm going down that pathway, because we're really talking about Niko here with arguably one of the best rifle performances we've seen in a top 5 versus top 5 game in quite a while. He's going to drop nearly 2.0 rating. And in fact, screw that. Actually, take it back. We need to see Taz this round because Taz, a coach, a manager, one might even say, is going to pick up a 2K. And let's just watch the beauty. The beauty. This is, a legendary. Oh, whoa, woohoo. Beauty. It's a beauty. I mean, it's really nice. Honestly, the nicest shot from this round was Niko onto the bomb planter through the smoke. That was definitely the nicest shot. And, generally you're just going to be expecting Niko to be landing the majority of his shots, but Niko generally doesn't go kind of hyper aggressive in any crazy ways. And so you're expecting some smart gameplay as well. Anyways, Niko generally going to be the, B cave player or the B player. Sometimes plays cave. I don't think G2 doubles up cave as much as some other teams, but it's hard to remember exactly. And interestingly, actually, on the last demo review I did of Ancient, I talked about a Molotov or something that I didn't want to talk about that Austin had showed me, and it's a Molotov that B site players throw. And Austin posted it on Twitter. If you go to my Twitter, you can see I retweeted it. It lands here in this corner here with the bucket, and you can't smoke it off. So you smoke it off, and it still continues to burn quite heavily. Anyways, Niko goes 25-8 in this map, which is unbelievable against a team as good as Spirit. And generally, you're going to expect some anti-ecos to happen in that. But I think anti-ecos don't get enough credit because the importance, especially on CT side, of winning these rounds cleanly is massive. And as soon as one player dies, you leave an opening for a second kill to be picked up pretty quickly afterwards, or pretty easily afterwards. So players like Naf is someone that gets a ton of anti-eco frags. And it's not that Naf hunts, it's just that, like Niko, when players walk into him, he just doesn't die, right? Against pistols. And I really think that matters, especially in MR12, more than people give it credit for. I don't think you can sleep on anti-ecos or anti-forces, especially when you're looking at MR12. Regardless, Niko did get spotted out here, but he did a good amount of damage. He already used the early molly. So one of the things that sometimes this type of play is a little bit weak to is you throw that early molly. You can be a bit weak to kind of delayed B hits where they just kind of walk up after a little bit. But this is the type of play that you're thinking makes a lot of sense to do against that, because if he spots someone, Hooksy can always toss a smoke down in here as well if he wants. Niko can spot someone, and Hooksy can quickly come along this wall and walk up if he wants, and then Niko can throw a flash. So there's a lot of options, but he kind of ends up in this really awkward spot. I don't even know if he spots the player here, but it looks like nobody's here, so he's going to throw something so that he can kind of maintain some control. It looks like he doesn't see this player. So he actually gets the worst possible timing, and I'm going to guess, Hooksy definitely could just get shot in the back from this, and that would... right about now, he probably should be paying attention. The timing exactly that could have been hit would have been really unlucky. But yeah, right about now is when he should have been paying attention. And luckily for him, Donk didn't do Donk things and just be like, yeah, I'm going to out-aim you, and then just walk up on him, because that could have gone pretty badly. Pretty badly. Anyways, Niko gets to rotate over in the middle. They are in a 4v5, so you're going to have to leave something open a little bit, and generally it just ends up being a gamble. In this case, they end up gambling B, or gambling towards A, and this kill from Niko is massive. Donk hits him so hard in the first couple of shots. I'm surprised he didn't finish him off, but Regardless, that kill is huge because otherwise, if Donk had killed Niko there, actually looking at the time, I'm not sure they had time to do that. I was thinking if there's a little bit more time on the clock, if Donk kills Niko there, then he can go, hey, hold up, that's their B player, and they can definitely consider rotating off and heading back over to B. It would be a definite like option, but as soon as Niko gets that kill, the option of rotating back is not a good idea. Yeah, this is the same molly, by the way. Yeah, that is, I believe that is the exact same molly. If it landed right. That looked like the same lineup I've seen. It might just have to land right, or are they throwing a smoke? Hold on. What's up? What's up? Let's see it. There's the molly. Okay, that smoke did put it out. So maybe it just didn't land in the right spot? I don't know. Maybe there's a specific spot you have to throw the smoke? Damn it, Austin. Damn it. Damn it, man. Damn it. Okay, so Spirit, by the way, is a team that does like to play fairly heavily towards mid. Spirit do a lot of, I feel like they do a pretty good amount of counter-stratting. Versus certain teams, they play very heavy in mid. Versus other teams, they play pretty light in mid. And oh my god, Niko, what was that from Zontix? Okay. All right, you know. All right. I think Niko says, nice shot. You can't see it, but I don't know why he would say thank you otherwise. It only adds up. And that was a doozy of a shot. Because not only it wasn't one shot, it was two shots. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, by the way. This early utility. If you're having trouble with B pushes, this is just the easiest utility you should be generally throwing. You want to throw it quickly, and that bounce is pretty important so it stays close. Otherwise, it ends up here, and there's like oftentimes going to be a gap in it. And then you nade into it, and the nade specifically is supposed to land, typically, like, I recommend, generally, you don't want to have nades, this is going to sound nerdy, but you don't want to have nades land on a wall, because you just lose half of the radius. However, in this case, that's the exact angle the opponents are going to be running up. They're going to be running up, hugging this wall, so that's basically where you want that nade to be landing. And, look, it does allow, potentially, some delayed B hits, so you have to also, you know, play that in with some more, either not throwing that, or you have a third teammate there and you throw some lane control. You'd have to have a bit of balance there, but it is generally the best way to stop a push. And if you're playing in, you know, if you're playing in matchmaking, you're playing in pugs, I don't think you have to worry too much about them, like, reading that and, like, starting to counter you too heavily. Maybe you want to have an opper there once in a while that can help shut things down. Like, for example, if you play with Monacy. That'd be great. That'd be a great way to do things. So anyways. Okay. Isn't he supposed to go 25 and 8 in this game? He's already got like 3 deaths. Okay, so the flash early just to push off anyone that's holding that angle so we can peek it. Then the delayed nade in case they're boosted up. And then they just find this exact timing where, I mean, that's kind of the point of this molly. This is a molly that's definitely worth throwing. It's actually not very hard to throw. And it stops a lot of pushes, but it also does allow you to get this kind of walk up behind it fairly safely. And then you can swing into it. And you can see the timing. Magic sees that molly, and that's a tell. They see that molly coming from pillar. So they know, okay, Niko's not long, and when Niko's not long, this does get a little bit easier to, you know, you only have to be looking at this side instead of on the right side, because I don't think typically G2, I mean, almost ever play like, you know, a third rifler B. So they're either opping it or they're not, and they don't have an opper right now, so they're looking for this timing. Likely they're looking for the timing, specifically the timing before Nexa gets there. Because Nexa is going to go, this is a fairly standard setup. You open in Red Room, you toss some utility mid, you look around for a second, and then you come back B. So, actually, this is precisely the type of play that you can get punished by if you throw that early molly a lot. So this is actually, I can't believe it took me this long to realize, this is likely specifically because G2 love to throw that early molly. The solution is to throw this slightly delayed molly down here or here sometimes. Or that nade. I mean, even that nade that Niko threw is a good solution, but it lands... Oh, he throws the molly. Okay, the molly is just a little... Wait. He threw a smoke? What did he throw? I thought he threw a nade? For fuck's sake. Okay, he didn't have a molly. Okay, I thought he threw a molly. Okay. Wait, did he? He just didn't have a molly this round. Yeah, okay, that explains everything. Okay, so he didn't have a molly this round. My God, everyone's tuned out by now. I just spent so long on this. So he didn't have a molly, but I think the point of this play is to catch. And when he throws that nade says he's left side, which means they can swing up looking left, which means he's basically fucked. He's gonna get traded out there in the majority of the time, and they probably would have had someone toss a molly pillar or spam through or whatever at some point shortly afterwards. All right, 3-3. This is where you're starting to get worried. You know, if you're watching, you're like, oh, sweet. G2 started out 3-0. Amazing. And then it's 3-3, and you're like, oh, shit. G2 is not winning gun rounds. As soon as weapons are in play, they're losing. So this is where you would start to get worried. But don't worry. Don't you worry. Niko still here. Still ready. So the rotate into red. It's a nice little jiggle. One tap. Rotate back over to B. The B's already taken, so the options are many. You can get into this spot. This spot used to be, for a while, it was so common that I'd see people just randomly spam this, especially against pistols. But they have to find the right timing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a nice play. Alright, this is the type of molly I was talking about. You catch some, you get it to land on that box, and that's just gonna push people out that want it to start here. You want to throw that once in a while. You don't necessarily want to be throwing it reactionarily, because they're probably not going to be going for the same play multiple rounds in a row. But maybe they could, right? That's the point of like playing somewhat randomized, where it's like, I'm a proponent of playing. You know, you have an idea of the set the amount that you should be doing something. Like maybe you want to be mollying the B rush like 50% of the time, and so you just take certain spawns, and those are the spawns that you typically do that with. And you don't like chain yourself to that system. Like you can't possibly do, you know, a different molly or something if you really have a read. But that like on a standard round with no other information, that you just throw it like that. And then you don't have to get into these plays like, are they going to run the same strat twice in a row? Well, maybe they might. Maybe they might not. You know, you don't have to get into this like decision battleground. I know most people aren't playing like this, but actually, if you remember, so a couple of years ago, Na'Vi had their notebooks. They were the first team that was, I think they were the first team, but one of the first most notable teams that were using a notebook on their tables as they were playing. And someone leaked it, like the camera looked at it or whatever, and someone translated it. By the way, you'll notice that Niko is playing off of the contact here, because where else are they going to be looking? Their only really main place to be looking here, unless, you know, is red room. So once Taz makes contact, that's when Niko's ready to swing out. And that gives a lot of information, because if Zontix is making contact there and nobody else is there, what else could they be doing, right? B hits are pretty common here. But anyways, Na'Vi had their notebook, someone translated it. And a lot of the things that were in their notebook were those types of kind of semi-randomized ideas. So one of the things I remember was it was like, if Simple has this spawn, we're doing this setup. And if we're doing this setup and Electronic has this spawn, then we're doing this play within the setup. And so people, I think pros aren't necessarily randomizing as in like, you know, with this spawn, we always do X, Y, or Z. But there's a lot of plays that are, especially Oppers. Oppers for a long time have been kind of unintentionally randomizing. As in, spawns are randomized, which means if you play based on spawns, you're randomized. So you're basically playing based on spawns a little bit, but not just in terms of like, oh, well, if you have the best long spawn on Dust 2, you go long, right? It's like, almost every Opper ever is like, if I have the best B spawn, I go B on Inferno. Like in CSGO, that was just like every fucking Opper did that. And usually if you had the best A spawn, you would go A. If you had the best mid spawn, you would tend to peek mid if that was a play you were comfortable with. You know, that type of thing. But you can do the same thing with like utility usage and stuff like that. Just make it a little bit easier on yourself. If you want. I don't know. That's one of those topics that I broach with teams I'm like talking with, but it's just a little bit too advanced to really talk about in a YouTube video. It's so specific, and even talking about it for like 7 or 8 minutes here or whatever, even talking about it for this long doesn't nearly do justice to the entire idea of it. And I don't think everyone should play like fully randomized. But I think it can make things a lot easier, because there's a tendency that if as a player, if you want to do something some of the time, but not all of the time, there's a tendency to either do it way more than you want or way less than you want. Like if you want to do something 50% of the time and you leave it up to yourself, you might be able to do 50% of the time. You can do 100% of the time. But if you want to do something like 75% of the time, the odds that you actually do it 75% of the time are pretty low. You're probably doing it like 60% of the time or 90% of the time. You know, like those types of things are like really hard to do without having some tell, like on the timings that you're doing it at or things like that. And people tend to fall into a rhythm where you throw nades at the same time or you throw mollies at the same time all the time. But the reality is you don't want to do that if you're playing at a high level. You want to be varying your gameplay quite a bit. I'm having like an existential crisis, man. Like we're talking about Niko. I'm just talking about this shit that's like, at least I should be in a team demo talking about this. Why am I on a Niko demo talking about this? So one of the things you want to do with utility, with nades especially, and this makes obvious sense if you think about it, but you probably haven't thought about it like this. The earlier you are in a round, the hotter the heat maps are. So, for example, at 155, their entire team is in T-spawn. Some of them are going to go this way. Some of them are going to go this way. Then they're going to get to here. Some of them are going to stay here. Some of them are going to go this way. Some of them are going to go this way. And some of them are just going to stay here, right? So in theory, the best places to nade would obviously be fucking T-spawn. But like the earlier you are in a round, the more likely your nade is to do damage, right? And so when you look at HE grenades, generally they should be spaced out like lots, and then as you go on further and further, they get further and further spread out, right? But most people generally, they either throw their nade at the very beginning of the round almost every time, or they hold on to it for way too fucking long. People don't have the right balance, and this is so specific, dude. Like, nobody fucking cares, man. Oh my god. Nobody at a high enough level, I think, that this type of thing matters, is watching this video right now. Anyways, you know, this brewery near my place, they make a Hefeweizen. It's so good, dude. It's so good. That's what I did. I've been working on a video all day. I worked out, ate some food, and was like, you know what? I'm going to record a demo review. We're just going to talk shit for like fucking half an hour and see how it goes. But you know, there's like there's a scene with Mike. Dude, I've been loving this Hefeweizen for like months. And then I saw this scene in Better Call Saul where Mike and the German guy are like at a bar, right? And someone shows up and he's like, "Can I get this Hefeweizen?" And he's like, no, it's Hefeweizen. And I'm like, yeah, baby, that shit is fucking fire, son. Bro, what am I doing? Okay, round 12, halfway through the demo. I have alienated so many viewers now. There's so many people that are never coming back because of what I've been talking about. Okay, aggressive against this buy is fine. You do need to occasionally re-aggress areas like that, and get something back. And I like this idea. They've been pretty weak on B for quite a while, and they've been kind of contesting a little, like slightly delayed contests in mid. And those types of delayed contests in mid mean that the odds of Spirit doing something like delaying, like waiting a good amount of time in mid, looking for that re-aggression go up. And that means that these types of re-aggressions B are more effective. I talk about this a lot, but there is like, a push and pull, just in terms of general strategy, that like it's not that your opponents need to be anti-stratting. Within the game itself, they can get a vibe. And it's not even that, like, look, at lower levels, absolutely. People are not going to be like even thinking about this, but they're going to get a vibe, you know? You're just getting, sometimes you just get a gut feeling, right? And the gut feeling, players at every level will be able to get that type of gut feeling, like, hey, these, like, you know, they're just going to be adjusting the way they play slightly. And you have to be aware of that. I'm not saying that everyone's going to be thinking at this high of a level, but if you leave gaps that are large enough and obvious enough, people will just vibe check you. All right, Pistorons. People, I think people think Pistorons are a little more random than they actually are. If you talk to most higher level players, they kind of generally will write off Pistorons as completely random. Don't even think about it. Strategically doesn't matter. Look, they are very gambly. The essence of having very little utility and not being able to consistently find the same amount of, like, a similar amount of delivery is rough. Like, if T's 5-man Russian area, sometimes the first CT is going to get 2 kills, and sometimes he's going to get none, and that pretty much defines whether or not you win the round, right? Whereas with a rifle, if the T's 5-man rush something, that CT is getting 1 kill at least almost every time, you know what I mean? Unless it's like a really, really sick rush. So there is truth to the idea that there's a good amount of randomness when it comes to pistol rounds. However, I think there's a little more skill involved than people give it credit for in terms of winning. Because you can be terrible at pistol rounds and never win a single pistol round. That's totally viable. That's totally reasonable. Like Falcons have like a 30% pistol round win rate over like 40 pistol rounds. And someone was like, dude, that's not enough sample size. I actually looked it up. It's surprising how little sample you can have to have a decent amount of certainty with things like that. Like, I think I looked it up. I definitely did look it up. And it's like, with 28, they had 28% pistol win rate over like 30 pistol rounds or 34 pistol rounds or something. And yeah, that's, you know, the odds of them actually being a 28% win rate team, not that high. But there's like 99% odds that they're at best a 40% win rate team. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Anyways, okay. Niko leading in. Key to this is that there are people behind him. You can take 1v1 duels with a rifle, but the key to taking, on anti-eco, to taking duels where you're like, oh my god, that spray down. The key to taking duels where you're alone 1v1ing people with a rifle on these rounds, the key to that being okay is you need to be doing that in situations where they can't retrieve your gun, right? And if you're walking cheetah, they can retrieve your gun. And that's really fucking bad. So you definitely need players with you. Or you need to have relative certainty that other people aren't around. Niko missing a molly. Just like us, man. He's just like us. You know, I watched some Stiko reviews. And Stiko leaves his mouse cursor in the middle of the screen the entire review. And I'm like, bro, how does that not bother you, dog? Like, how does that, bro, what the fuck, dude? How are you not, oh my god, Niko's so good, dude. This guy's amazing. Niko wouldn't leave the cursor on the middle of his screen, Stiko. I don't know, I wanted to comment that on his video, and then I was like, then I just forgot. I'm not like hoarding this information. Someone else should mention it. I was watching a video and I was like, oh, he probably just forgot the one time, right? Because sometimes you don't realize, like, I've fucked this up, right? Sometimes you don't realize. And then I watched another one. I was like, dude, he just does this every video. And then I was like, I'm going to comment on that. And then I was watching it on my TV in my living room and I was like, I'm not getting up for this shit, dude. I'm not getting up for that. Here it's funny. So Niko does the opposite of what I said in one of my earlier videos. Is like, well, people are too afraid of being embarrassed. They always go out on 10 seconds. And he does actually go out on 10 seconds. It's funny because it really depends on the buy. On this buy, the odds of Donk having a kit are actually not very high, right? This is exactly the type of round where Donk wouldn't have a kit. I was just kind of surprised that Niko actually ran out with that, because the spam through here would have been really solid. But the problem with spamming through here is if Donk does have a kit, he can fake it and then kind of walk around and catch you sometimes. And then the timing, it kind of fucks with you, because if you spam through here, then it's like, am I going to come out? Well, then your timing is really fucked up. And with 30 HP, so it's kind of oxymoron. It's not, that's not the right word. It's counterintuitive is what it is. With 30 HP, you feel like the best play is, well, I got 30 health, I can't swing out on him. Fuck that, dude. I'm gonna spam him. But actually, that's the opposite. That's the direct polar opposite of what you want. Because with spamming, it's a lot less direct. So generally, when it comes to spamming, the odds of you getting spammed back when you have 30 HP are like fucking 100%. The guy could be on the bomb defusing and go, oh shit, I'm getting hit. Look up, spam you, and you're dead, and then he goes right back to defusing. Like, with 30 HP, right? I mean, you might even say Niko has quietly amassed a lot of kills. I just feel like he had the ace in the anti-eco. He had another 4K on an anti-eco. Okay, I said anti-eco kills are worth more than people give them credit for. I feel like Niko has gotten they're not, this 25 kills isn't worth 25 kills, okay? Maybe I need to walk back my previous statement that people don't give anti-eco kills enough credit. To some extent, yes. But then I feel like getting 12 fucking anti-eco kills is like a lot, you know? Like... Alright, so Niko's is trying to replicate, like, standard utility, but when the opponents are that close up, it can sometimes be kind of obvious when you're throwing standard utility. You'll notice something, a lot of people have already noticed this, but something I've noticed that you'll definitely notice now that I've mentioned it, especially at lower levels. One of the things people do a lot is they do, I've been calling them goodbye flashes, okay? Because there's no name for this, but just everyone fucking does it. Everyone fucking does it. Here, I remember watching this live. I feel like Niko just has to hard clear this corner. Like, there's so many angles. He mollies that out. He's worried about this angle here, right? Because Hunter needs to cross and Hunter's lit, and he's worried about this player that's likely found a timing to make it to here, because this is like one of the most likely spots, or here. But did he not have time to like actually clear this angle? Could he not have like, well, the problem is if he moved up to clear it, yeah, all the way up until a couple seconds ago, until this molly from Hunter lands, he could just get peeked from here and die as he's clearing it. Yeah, I see exactly how this goes. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely feel like there could have been a chance for him to find a time to clear that, because if nobody's currently peeking here, the odds of them being in this corner or this corner are so high, and they're just going to kill Hunter almost every time. I feel like either of those corners, because Hunter has 28 HP. But he can't clear the second corner. I don't know. That's a tough one. Because if at any point that he does that, he's also very likely to die, because a player could have just rotated in and just kill him as he's rotating in. So it's really uncomfortable, especially because Hunter's at 28 health. It makes it so uncomfortable, because if he dies, then Hunter's got no fucking chance, and the round's just over. Awkward. Alright, so here, I don't know what the score of this is, but if they 2v4, that would be sick. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that spam from Shiro. Niko just came straight back through. Niko hears that spam because he's close, and they know he's close. They're already 4v2. They know Niko's here. Maybe they're worried about Hunter being on the other side, but then Shiro has to fall back, and Niko just gets so much damage done. And then Shiro pulls out his USP, and he has no... What is going on right now? How is this possible? So Shiro spams a whole bunch. Then he pulls out his USP and keeps spamming. And Niko is just like, hey, he's fucking reloading. I'm just going to chase him. And Shiro must think he's baiting. He must think he's baiting here. But then Magix is just turned back. So Niko just runs in, and he could have even killed Magix there too, because Magix, his gun was visible through I think a spammable wall. That's wild. Yeah. All right, so pistols this time. Surely this is where Niko makes his 25 kills happen, right? Oh yeah, this is another solid play from Magix. This one is surprisingly risky because I've seen people die here. Nice eliminated, by the way. I've seen people die here to like an op gets boosted up. If you have the jiggle wrong, you can actually get kind of fucked up by that. But it's still a pretty solid play in general. And if you have good positioning from teammates, you can get a lot done there. You can get a lot of information without really making yourself too vulnerable. And it doesn't give away a lot of information, you know? Because until they see you, they don't really know what you're doing. You could be opping that, for example, right? They have to play as if you could be opping that, or you could be doing a lot of different things. Whereas a lot of the other ways you might want to play the round, they can, eventually they might know what you're doing without ever peeking that angle, like peeking that deep into the position. All right, so it's an A hit. A lot of the time you're gonna have a lurker on that, and he's gonna come through mid. But the problem is the A hit has to go fairly well, and the A hit did not go fairly well, and they didn't even, I don't think, die to a donut player, which is a lot of the time what Niko's trying to flank there. A lot of the time what that flank is trying to do is, like, you know this guy's going to come through, he's going to rotate here, and he's going to be looking here the whole time, and he's going to get into donut, and then you want to flank that flank so that you can have, like, donut control for the actual after plant, so they can't just, like, retake through donut comfortably, or if they do retake through donut, you can stop them from defusing at least. But unfortunately, when you lose the whole retake through the other portions of the map, that player ends up being completely useless. That's not really through any fault of his own. And then, yeah, I remember this round because this almost could have gone pretty wrong, I think. I mean, this is basically perfectly played, but I remember sitting here thinking, Hooksy's gonna miss. He's gonna miss. I was like, Hooksy's gonna miss, dude, and then he's gonna win, and then they're gonna lose the game. I was just still so certain, even this late into the game. I was like, fuck, they're gonna lose this somehow. Well, but they didn't. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you got to this point, that's crazy, dude. I don't even know what I'm talking about.